Hi, it's Sophia Wise One, and I'm here, and I am sitting here. I moved outside. I was sitting inside earlier, and I moved outside because I wonder how bad the shadow is. It feels like you can't see my face. I want to start right now from where I am, which is a Sunday morning space that wants to kind of soften and drop in and feel. I really want to honor where I am. If you're joining me, I want to honor where you are right now. And I think part of that is about the heart of the way in which I transformed my life and my experience with my menstrual cycle, because I used to have what's called PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So the worst PMS you can imagine for 8 days before my period, and then for the entirety of my period. And I bleed for about 8 days. No, 6 to 7 days. So, and I had a short cycle. So I was bleeding or premenstrual most of the time. And yay! Let me know if you can see if the shadow on my face is too extreme, because I can take my hat off if needed. You can't see my face, my eyes at all. So I really had an excruciating experience. So if you experience PMS or have been diagnosed and been told you have PMDD, you understand that what we're talking about is a really deep level of conflict with self, having an experience that you're having in your own self and really hating it and hurting in it and aching in it. And that is a really hard place to come from, a really hard place to live in, and a really hard place to move through. And what I did, the short story is what I did was, after I was told that I might be bipolar or have PMDD, I was recommended to track my cycle, not only the bleeding cycle, but my emotions. So at least 3 times a day, I would mark how I was feeling: happy, easygoing, flexible, tight, any physical sensations. And I tracked 3 cycles, and I saw that all of the things that I was experiencing that I wasn't sure if were circumstance or not, were not circumstance. They were hormonal. And some of those circumstances were exacerbated or made worse because of my hormonal. Okay, they're in shadow, but you can still see my facial expressions. Okay. But I think it'll be better this way, because otherwise I'll be very squinty. So they can really exacerbate situations. So let's say, for me, a lot of this was reflected back to me in my relationships, my intimate family relationships, and my romantic and kind of best friend relationships, and my business relationships are where I saw my ability to kind of function and roll with it. And I saw the places where I couldn't, where I didn't have, my head and my mind couldn't override what was hormonally the waves moving through me. So what I did for maybe about 4 years was I managed myself. I marked things in my calendar. I made rules for myself. This is important. There was an act of responsibility that I took here that was very empowering. And even though the rules were I'm not allowed to make decision for these 72 hours, and I would write it in my calendar, and I would know that it was coming, and I would say, no, I'm not. This is not happening here in this way. I'll just wait it out, because I would get things would get so intense, and then after the fact, I'd look back on them and go, okay, they're important, but they didn't need to be that intense. So after about 4 years of managing myself, I kind of got things under control. And I had a turning point when I was in a circle, and the person next to me said, I realized my whole life I had been told I was too much. And in response to being too much, I shrank myself. And in shrinking myself, I made myself sick, and I tried not to be so much. And her big breakthrough was, you know what? I'm that much. I really am that much. And if you don't want to handle it, don't handle it. Let it be. I'm going to be my whole self. And I was the next person in the circle, and I looked at her, and it came to me, and I said, I just realized I'm not too sensitive. I'm that sensitive. And I am what is referred to as an empath. So I physically and emotionally, mentally identify and experience what the people around me, and sometimes more than just people, sometimes it can happen with animals or the earth. I literally feel what's happening. The most kind of transparent way to know you're an empath is when you get physical sensations that other people have. So like someone walks into a room and your back starts to hurt, and then you listen to them talk and they're like, oh, I have back pain. And you're like, that's so weird. I knew you had back pain. My back hurt. So that's one way, but you don't always necessarily physically feel it. You can just kind of know it and feel it. Emotionally is also a way that we often don't know. Physical pain is like really obvious, but it's one of those things where we can be having a really nice day, and our partner or our family member comes home and they are really grumpy. And over the course of like 10 minutes, they feel better and you feel really grumpy. So that's a level of sensitivity. So I realized, okay, I'm not too sensitive, I'm that sensitive. And I looked at how I needed to shift my experience of self so that if I was this sensitive, everyone in my life who loved me wanted me to be stable, right? I was too sensitive, I needed to bring it down. And I realized I couldn't bring down the sensitivity, I'm that sensitive. To create a stable foundation, what was I missing? What did I need to bring up in me, okay? And there were a number of things that I needed to bring up in me. One of them was ownership of my own self, and I needed to bring up my boundaries, being able to say no, being able to know what I want, know myself, know my limitations, and take time for myself. One of the things that I didn't have in my increased sensitivity was I had limit in my output, and I had limit in my alone time. And there's a way in which increasing my time to be with myself allowed me to digest my own experiences and come into my center, as well as increasing my output, my creative work, my teaching, my creative work, singing, making art, expressing myself. All this input, I needed output. Okay? So the big shift for me was when I went from saying, I'm too sensitive, I have to manage myself, I've got to keep myself under wraps, to saying, okay, I'm that sensitive. It's not that I need to contain myself, it's actually that I just need to know myself. I just need to know where I am and what is going to support me and create a sense of balance, create a sturdiness inside of me. And so, hi. So, it was very important for me to give myself permission to be who I was. And that was really hard. This was in my early 20s. And who I was is this like emotionally, deeply faithful, kind of intuitively driven creature in a world that was telling me that I had to like stabilize and take care of myself and like do all of these things. And basically that all the things that I was, that I couldn't deny, were less valuable and had to be taken care of after all of these other things. Well, that wasn't true for me. I couldn't take care of those things later. I couldn't literally, I literally couldn't, because my body wouldn't let me. I would weep uncontrollably for days at a time. I would rage. I would get incredible physical sensations, back pains. I had the experience of being stabbed. Like it just felt like I was just getting stabbing pains. They talk about stabbing pains in the body. And so I managed myself. I worked with myself. I listened to myself. And what I learned, and this is the kind of the number one for today that I'm going to tell you, is what I learned is that we are not only hormonal when we are premenstrual. We are hormonal 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for every year that we're on this planet. We are driven by our hormones all the time. And as bleeders, as womb carriers, as female-bodied, you may identify as a woman, we are externally, like, it's very transparent that we are hormonally cycling, that we're not just hormonal in a haphazard way. The opposite, we're hormonal in a rhythmic way, okay? We're hormonal premenstrual. We are definitely hormonal when we're menstrual. We are hormonal after our period, and we are hormonal kind of in that same time as before we're ovulating and when we're ovulating, okay? So our period, our blood is literally, we shed this red blood, okay? It's external. We are doing this deep cleansing, and we are offering a deep nourishment. When we are ovulating, we are secreting like a white viscous, we are lubricating ourselves, we are making ourselves easier for contact and access and opening, okay? These are hormonal functions. These hormonal functions also feed us emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Let's pause. Let's review. Emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, these are all perspectives on one thing. Your spirituality is not separate from your physicality or your emotionality or your mentality, okay? You are one thing. Let's go over this again. If you sat with me before, if you've heard this before, you can do it with me, okay? This, your being, okay? Your landscape, your perspective of your mentality looks like this. Of your physical form, it looks like this. Of your emotional, looks like this. And of your, let's see, I don't know where I could cover it. Mental, it looks like this, okay? When you're up close on a perspective, you may not even know the other place exists, but it's just a hand. It's just a being. It's just you. It's just how you approach it, your perspective on it, okay? The way that this is really important when you're looking at and discovering a new way of being with your menstruation and your hormonal cycle, the whole thing, is when you have any kind of hurt or trauma or impact on any landscape, okay, it's going to change that landscape, which inadvertently, without effort, changes all the other landscapes. By the same token, when you experience healing, when you soften, when you open, when you strengthen, when you become clear, okay, it doesn't matter if it's emotionally clear, physically clear, mentally, spiritually clear, it inadvertently affects all of the rest of your being, okay? That's what happens. Now, you can be in this formation and be kind of high vibrating. This is kind of throwing out some, this is maybe too far. So just because you've become spiritually clear doesn't necessarily mean everything's going to disappear and it's going to like be kind of perfect and never have a problem, or that you get physically strong and you never have an emotional thing. We are this dynamic creature that is constantly evolving, constantly changing, constantly moving. In fact, that's my definition of health, is vibrancy, which means as vibration of the experience of existence touches you, you vibrate with it and it passes through you. Okay, it is changed, maybe you are changed, but everything still moves, okay? You are vibrating, you have vibrancy, as opposed to being stiff, in which things bounce off of you and you do not experience contact, or they come to you and you grasp onto them, you do not let them go, you become tight and restricted, and you experience tension. On any level, any perspective, you're having tension there. So when I say that you're hormonally going through this rhythmic cycle here, you are mentally, emotionally, and physically going through an entire cycle as well. This cycle is brilliant, it's trustworthy, and it's awesome. Which leads me to point number 2 today, okay? When you are premenstrual, you are not crazy. You are not crazy, you are not making it up, you are not overreacting. You might be overreacting. Let's talk about what I mean by that. Okay, 100% bullshit meter. That's what you are. That's what you are when you're premenstrual. That heightened sensitivity means that anything that is not consistent, that is not congruent, is going to hit that sensitive sounding board that you are. Your hormonal, your physical, your mental, emotional self is going to go, bullshit, 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 bullshit. This is some bullshit, okay? You're going to get really worked up. Now, if you are in conflict with yourself, which is what happened to me, when you get that experience of bullshit and you start to say, I have an opinion, if your habit is to take up less space, if your belief is that you need to be less sensitive, you need to overreact less, if you need to bring it down, when you get that big impulse that says, I have an opinion, I have an insight, I have an opinion, I have something to share, you're gonna up. Does that help? I've been recommended to tilt the camera up. No, I lost myself entirely. Hold on. Hope that helped. Can't really see, so we'll have to check in very intentionally. Okay. I have an opinion, okay? Then what that does is that stimulates inside you, if you don't have a very confident, deep internal way of saying, I have permission to take up space, have an opinion, have a boundary, then you become in conflict with yourself. Instead of digesting the insight that you have or the impulse or this bullshit meter, you go, oh, your focus becomes not freaking out. And in that way, you only increase the tension. And the problem is the bullshit meter doesn't turn off. You bring it down, you bring it down, you bring it down, you bring it down, you get tighter, you tighter, you tighter, and then you explode. And that's the thing that we most often, have that experience. Now, for many of us, let me tell you my story. So I was known as being really flexible, really easygoing, like always down, always easy, sensitive, but always going with it, right? So I would always get everything all the other time of the month. And then when I would get premenstrual, I would lose all of that. And I realized I was so flexible over here that the only time I would make a boundary was over here. And the only time I would make a decision, I would really stand up for myself. I would say, you know what, I don't like this. And because I didn't have ways of doing it that trusted and honored self, as soon as they came up, everything was so loaded because I would hold on to it. It was such a big deal. Everything had this big deal because it got pent up. What I have discovered is that when something comes in, as soon as it comes in, as soon as I become aware of it, as soon as I become aware of an inkling that there is something to be made aware of, I make it my duty to slow down and find out what it is. What is that thing that I can bring down a notch? I can bring my tension, my freak out down a notch. I can actually open towards that and say, what is that about? In this place, what comes in is more often than not an essence, a truth, a subtle pattern. And so what often happens is that we overreact to the big issue. It's like, you came home 15 minutes late. And then it goes like, you don't care about me. You don't respect I asked you to come home on time. Like, you never come home. It's like this whole thing. And it's like, whoa, I literally got stuck behind a car accident, right? Like, out of my control, happens sometimes, not a big deal. So this can turn into a huge fight. And then it's, here I am overreacting, freaking out, making a big deal out of something that's not that big of a deal. Now, if this is a relationship in which whenever I make a request to have something be a little bit more focused or a little bit more on, let's say, on a timeline, or, one of the things for me is I'll be like, I never ask for anything. So when I ask for this one thing, I want to get it. Okay. What I've learned is that approach actually doesn't work as well as just asking for what you want all the time and being okay with not getting it, and then being okay with when you get it the way that you wanted it. So that essence piece that comes up, there may be a truth of, okay, you were 15 minutes late, but you didn't call me, and you have a way of, in this subtle way, just expecting me to be there. Now, in my experience, when I'm having something like that and it really gets to me, it's because it's actually, and this is mine, people get dependent on and work through things and lean through things in different ways, of different patterns. For mine, it's an emotional pattern way. So you may be the kind of person that people always call when they need a thing. Can you give me a ride? Can you lend me $10? Can you meet me at this place? Can you watch my kids? Can you, and you're like always the one who can just do the thing. Okay. For me, I'm always the one who like, or I used to be always the one who like had this kind of emotional space and caretaking. And I would even pick up on things before anybody would have to ask for them. I would eliminate their need to ask for something because I would pick up on it and then I would just do it. And this can create a very subtle dynamic that feels very unsatisfying, because what can happen is that if I miss something and they get upset, I somehow either feel guilty or blamed, right? Either feel guilty on myself or they blame me. And this is a problem, because what becomes a gift of our tending and being in relationship with someone becomes our responsibility and then our burden, because we're more responsible for them than they are for themselves. Okay, this is the classic kind of thing that's like a subtle pattern that we freak out about. An example of it when we're premenstrual. And it's like, it's not that you're always like this. Now, when that voice come out of your mouth or go through your head, you're always like this, that's an important time to grab a notebook or call a friend who's really good at listening and say, there's something that's happening repeatedly and I need to really see and understand what it is. Okay? Because the truth is, it's probably not a never and it's probably not an always, but there probably is something that is repetitive. And most likely, if it's really irritating, it's a habit. So it's either unconscious or it's an okay. These are the things that we tend to pick up on and freak out about when we're premenstrual. That's why I'm kind of breaking all this down. So if you take perspective of trusting yourself, not turning your intense response into something you have to control, but turning your intense response into something that you need to reveal to yourself and get clear on. Because often it's like I said, it's an essence or a subconscious pattern you're picking up on. So you may not have great success at saying, this is what I noticed, it's really driving me nuts, and fix it. Because they're not conscious of the behavior. They just did this thing. They got stuck in the traffic and they didn't call. It wasn't a big deal. Okay. So if you're going to say, all right, how do I honor that I'm picking up on something? I'm not making it up right now. How do I honor that and yet translate it? So one of the ways that I often talk about this is like the clarity that we get happens down here in our body. And so it's our practice that we have to learn how to get that information translated all the way up through our system to our mind so we understand it and then share it. And so that's that fine line between, are you overreacting and being dramatic? And it's like, for me, there were times where I was being dramatic and overreacting, but that's because I myself wasn't giving myself the time to translate and get clear on what it is. So now I tell my wife when at premenstrual, I say like, oh, all right. And I call it premenstrual wisdom, PMW, because it's that I'm picking up on something. And we know that when it comes up, sometimes it's fun, #funitarian. Sometimes it's fun. And it's like, okay, I just got that feeling, like, what did we just bump up against? Like, what is this pattern that usually of us roll past, but that in a way is not honoring my deep wisdom. It's not, and if it's not on my deep wisdom, it's not honoring anybody else's. So I'm responsible to myself and I'm responsible to this relationship that I'm in. I used to, with my family, had to navigate this with my sister and, my roommates when I lived with them, all of these things, whoever you have this relationship with that you're going to be honored to be on the inside level, the intimate level of what's happening. There's a great responsibility and opportunity for you to honor your wisdom and to serve everybody in that. Now, how totally different is that than being hormonally premenstrual and freaking out? Okay, you have responsibility to honor the wisdom that's coming through your sensitivity, your wisdom, your heightened experience, and to serve yourself and to serve the people that are activating this in you. Now, Some people will be incredibly responsive. Some people will not be responsive. Some people will be responsive in theory and then be really uncomfortable because what you're doing is revealing unconscious patterns that they don't like doing. I can tell you this is like one of the things that we do in my marriage. You know, it's like, okay, I'm picking up on this thing, and it happens for her too. She'll pick up on something and be like, this does not feel good, and I'll be like, oh no, we're picking up on the incongruencies of who we are, and who we really are, and who we're being. Okay, this distance between it. The other thing that happens that's really can really create suffering and pain in the premenstrual time is that you're not only picking up on other people's incongruencies of authenticity, you're also picking up on your own. So sometimes when I'm premenstrual or right at the beginning of my period, I am filled with a self-loathing or self-hate. And if I'm not careful, I can either shut it down and just ignore it and put myself in conflict with myself, deny, or I can, I don't know what, I think that's the one that hurts me. And then the other thing that I can do is I can say, okay, all right, there's some way that I'm behaving, there's some pattern that I'm in, there's something that I'm doing that doesn't feel good. And just sit in compassion with that. That's okay. I don't have to be perfect all the time. I can want to be perfect all the time. That's okay. But I don't actually have to be perfect all the time. So that place of saying like there's some step between who I want to be and who I'm being, and that's being reflected back to me. I have an opportunity. This is the choice here. I have an opportunity to see that and to look closer and be willing to be brave the way that I ask my partner to be brave and say, okay, let's look at this and say what's happening here. And I can look, and then once I look and see, I have another opportunity. Do I beat myself up for doing this thing or not doing this thing? Or do I look compassionately and invite myself to evolve and grow from this awareness? Do I just accept myself and say, hey, this is how I've been, this is what I've been doing, and now I would like to do something different? And taking that perspective of what do I need to do something different? Do I need to learn a new skill? Is the reason I'm mad at myself is because I'm still not using my body the way that I want to. How am I going to do that? What is the way that I really need to listen and honor my body, dance more, walk more, go back to yoga, go to physical therapy? Like, is it that level? Am I going to kind of go into that framework and say, okay, how can I work with the resources I have and the messages I'm getting from my body or myself? Okay, so this is the, you are not crazy and you're not overreacting. You might be overreacting, but there's a whole other line of things to do with that initial impulse rather than fight it and then explode. Okay, all right, okay, not crazy. Your entire cycle is a brilliant cycle. And let's take a minute there. Just breathe for a second. I'm kind of considering, I want to come back around to the brilliant cycle of your hormonal cycle, because I just want to share with you like the moon waxing and waning, okay? The moon waxing, I'll do it because it's in my head, and I at least know one person on the call will appreciate it. So this is for you, sweetheart. The moon, she is waning, waxing and waning. The moon, she is waiting till we are free. So the moon, it's waxing and waning. Okay, we in our cycles, we're waves, we're pulling and going. And at each phase, we are optimized for a thing or various, you know, and at each stage of each wave, we're being pulled through, and there's a certain peak of our hormonal setup. So for me, the premenstrual time is building the yin in traditional Chinese medicine. It's when I begin to look inside. I'm very good at sorting. I'm very good at saying bullshit, important, subtle thing I missed, important thing I missed, obvious thing I missed, things that I want to do. Right before I get my period, the to-do lists I can write will be pages long because I'm sorting all of this. I'm thinking a lot in my head and I don't feel like talking. The classic kind of yin experience where I'm very full on the inside. but I don't really feel like sharing it with others, okay? The menstrual time is cleansing and healing time. It is a nourishment to yourself, the earth, those who are in space with you, and it's cleansing. It's almost nourishing essentially through its cleansing. The more you empty out, the more space you receive, okay? The more I lean back, the wider I can open, okay? So your period pulls you down, cleansing, making space, making a beautiful opportunity to receive healing, receive your wholeness, okay? Pre-ovulation or post-menstruation time is I come out, I'm clear, I'm focused, I'm excited, I've got a lot of, the other thing that happens when I'm menstruating is I often, it's like I don't want to talk, I don't want to do, I'm deep in the yin, I'm in this deep, there's a lot of activity that's kind of invisible. I also get a lot of creative inspirations. I may want to paint and sing to the moon and kind of be in this very liminal, timeless space, okay? As my period clears out, I finish, my moon time ends, I come out, I'm empty, I'm clear, I'm focused. I've done all this sorting. I had all this ideas of everything that I wanted to do, I didn't do. I let it all go. I've come back. I'm ready to take action, make things, I'm building my yang. I'm getting clear. I'm making decisions. Okay. I move into ovulation and I'm like ready to be out there, to be seen, to give, to get, to be in relationship, externalized, celebrating, enjoying. I'm, like I talked about, I'm lubricated. There's an opening. I'm ready to kind of give. I'm also ready to give. I'm ready to get. Okay. There's a way, pheromonally, we're ovulating. It's like, hello. Yes, I am very appealing. And so we can use that energy with whatever we're doing. We can use that energy in our garden. We can use that energy in our writing. We can use that in our career. We can use it with our family. We can use that same kind of burst of vibrant life, external. It's a great time to like go to an amusement park with your kids, right? And like, woo, like ride a roller coaster and throw your arms up and be like, yes, life is awesome. Okay, that is like being in form, feels great. Sensation is awesome. There's a steadiness and openness, okay? And then as that completes, it's like, whew, that was intense. I took in a lot. I shared a lot. Now my post-ovulation or my pre-menstruation time is about, whoa, that was wild. This felt great. That was a little bit not so awesome. This is what I want to do time. And you see how this begins, this Paulo Freire, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, a brilliant man who thought and wrote and taught about how we learn and how we move society and how we move our heart and our relationships forward. And he talks about praxis. And praxis is the combination of activism and verbalism, or rather the mix of action and reflection. You take action and then you reflect. And then you take action again and you reflect again. And in that reflection, you allow yourself to make new decisions so that the next action you take is informed. He says, action without reflection becomes ism. You're just doing without checking in to see if it's working. Reflection without action is verbalism. You're sitting around, it's like you're kind of just jerking off. And jerking off is awesome, but it's like, is that the only way you want to relate to your body or sexuality or your ecstasy, right? There's limited. It's like if you want impact in the world, you want some action in that. So it's this, he said, really want to take action and reflect. And I'm telling you, that's what you're hormonally built to do, is to take action and to digest it, and to take new invigorated action and to digest it. And if we do that, our bodies are literally the best strategic plan for evolution, conscious evolution, not just cellular evolution, but the progression of, I'm not joking, humanity, okay? We are built this way. It's incredibly important for male-bodied or male-driven hormonal people who are like don't have such an extreme, because everybody has hormonal cycles and doesn't matter your gender, your body type, anything like that. Everybody has them. it's not as extreme, and it's subtler. And so it's very important often for males to develop a contemplative practice and a cleansing practice. So, you know, a couple examples are like sweat lodges or saunas, okay, are places of like kind of do that cleansing, or working out, physically working out. But that working out can be very yang. So there's something, you know, that yin, consciously building that yin space. Our bodies bring us into yin space. That's that premenstrual time and that menstrual time. Now, here's one of the things we are told in our culture is yang obsessed, okay? There's thank goodness for the 60s, man, and drugs, because yoga, meditation, spiritual practices are working their way into mainstream culture, and people are seeing the benefits of just stopping 10 minutes, 12 minutes a day, just spang, how that changes. It interrupts the activism. It interrupts the go, so that we can take a minute and say, oh, I'm not getting the result I want. I'm going to move from here. Okay. Our body asks us to do that. One of the problems is that we get in conflict with ourselves because our culture tells us not to slow down. So when we become premenstrual and we want to slow down, you know, it's like, I want to drink, I want to eat chocolate, drink half a glass of wet wine over 5 hours while sitting on a porch with one other person, saying a total of maybe 7 paragraphs of dialogue over the course of those 4 hours, right? Like, that's what I want. That sounds awesome, you know? And it's like, people are like, but don't you want to do, shouldn't you be doing something? Okay. And I have this conflict in myself. We have this, it's incredibly indoctrinated into us. And so it's amazing the levels we need to consciously give ourselves permission to say, no, it's okay for me to stop right now, or to slow down. The premenstrual is the slow down, and the menstrual is the stop, to stop doing. That is the moon lodge. That is the medicine. If you are in a situation where you are not going to give yourself the time to stop for your whole bleed or half your bleed or 2 days, if you're not going to take those 2 days, lock the door, be by yourself, one of the ways you can really honor and that deep stop is to pick a certain amount of time and claim that as yours. Go behind a door, go out of the house, do whatever you need to do, put a sign up, put a timer on, tell your kids, do not interrupt me for 45 minutes unless somebody is bleeding, you know, that kind of like, you know, put that space down, light a candle, say a prayer, and say, I am honoring the deep stop of my body. Because here's one of the beauties is you're also tapped into that non-linear, liminal, non-time space. So, so it's a great time to play with time bending, to play this place where you can say, I'm going to get everything I need in this moment. I'm going to drop into this bleeding. I'm going to let it nourish me from the depths of my being in the time that I have. I'm going to drop into the non-time space and drop into that deepness. Okay, let me make sure I'm not missing anything here. Okay. Okay, that brings me to the third thing that nobody tells you about PMS, which is that PMS, or you know, PMW, or your premenstrual time, is your prep time towards your moon time, your period, your bleeding time, sacred bleeding time, as I like to call it. And the sacred bleeding time makes you a shaman. Now, you may be an uninitiated, untrained shaman, so I'm not telling you to necessarily go like gallivanting off into the ethers, but a shaman is someone who walks between the worlds. That things, those layers that are invisible, and then these layers that are tangible in this world. So, example, for me, when I'm shamanic practicing, one of the things I'm doing as I'm standing with someone is I'm not only tracking on an intuitive level their journey, their spiritual, their arrest, their healing. I'm picking up on, you know, ancestors or voices or songs or essences or images or sensations or feelings. I'm feeling all of that. I'm journeying with them. I'm opening the gate. I'm going with them. I'm bringing them back. I'm doing all of that. And at the same time, I'm also in the room with them, making sure they're breathing, making sure they're not falling off the table, making sure if they're having physical movements that their body is safe. Okay? So I'm both tracking that side and tracking this side. And that to me is that kind of base process of shamanic practicing. And so for us, there's a way in which you need to be on this side and on that side to be a safe guide. And as women, because we bleed, as female-bodied bleeders, we're given this talent. I talk about it like a talent because it's anyone can cultivate it. You don't have to have a womb that bleeds to travel and to ground and walk between. We have an innate talent because our wombs bleed. This blood is shamanically powerful, okay? All blood is, but menstrual blood doesn't have injury. It's just life force without injury. There's no hurt, there's no wound. It's just, vibrating life. It is the landscape that grows humans, okay? So this vibrant force pours out of us and it connects us to this side, our life force, our blood, our fertile landscape, our human form is very intact, and that grounded connection to that is a strong root so that we can travel and come back again, like I said. So nobody tells you this, do they? Nobody tell you that image that they have of that mysticism and shamans and talking to ancestors and these things that feel so elusive are your birthright as a bleeder. They're like, and in many ways, in some ways it happens whether we want it to or not. And it's one of the reasons we get irritable when we're trying to like be at work and do things, is because we are having this deep esoteric experience without effort. And what happens when we do it with effort is incredible healing. And what happens when we do it without effort is a lot of the time confusion, irritability, and exhaustion. Absolute exhaustion. Okay? So that's the third thing that nobody tells you about PMS and PMDD and why it's awesome even when it sucks. Okay. I want to do a brief practice today with the wind and the chimes. We're going to drop into our pelvic bowl space. I want you to meet, I'm going to guide you to kind of meet your womb space. We're going to connect with some of your wisdom in there that hasn't been seen. Before I do that, I love to end on that luscious note. I want to, hold on one second. Okay. I want to talk about my course coming up that I talked about. I'm so excited. It's this beautiful merging of the body wisdom, trusting yourself, using your body as a way of understanding, like kind of learning how to talk to that landscape so that you can have an understanding of what's happening for yourself and heal any stuff at the body level. So body wisdom stuff, a lot of pelvic bowl, wild femme embodiment of this powerful, rich, luscious way of living that loves living, loves life, loves pleasure. Pleasure is something that's very scary and it's demissed in our culture. So having community and having space to heal those resistances and really get into what it is to relax, to be comfortable in wanting, and to be comfortable wanting and getting. It's like kind of the heart of wild femme. Wild femme accessing your inner power or opening it up and getting it good from God. So getting it good from the divine. So it's a 12-week course. They're 2-hour classes a week, and the classes are mostly a teaching and then a healing. It's a healing course. This is a 3-month journey to do some deep healing, to get in your body, to get in your knowing, know yourself, what you want, what you need, where you are, what you're longing for, and to be able to take action on it. Another piece I'm going to do is, we are incredibly ill-equipped as a culture to work with feelings like grief and rage and anger and shame. And like I said, pleasure and joy. We are not equipped on how to be with those sensations in a way that is healthy, that honors our body, honors our relationships, and honors the feelings, okay? The feelings are the pathway to our experience, to our knowing, to our peace. And so it's really important to learn how to be with them and work with them. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna work with those in this course and get a wider vocabulary, get access, get safe in those spaces so that they don't rule you. You're not spending your time avoiding them. They can be a vibration that comes through, passes through, and you become more intact and a better lover to yourself as well as the people in your life. The other element that I'm doing is kind of an intro, this beginning piece of shamanically working with your spirit guides, building the relationships to the ancestors or energies, however you understand it. It doesn't really matter to me at all, but connecting with that nourishing space so that you can feel really confident to trust that wisdom and build your intuition, build your trust in your intuition, and embody that knowing. Okay, hold on 1 second. Body wisdom, working with spirit guides, wild femme. Oh, emotional. Thanks. Yes. Okay. So those classes are on Fridays. They will be recorded and the container will be there. So if you can't make the classes in person, you can listen to them and still use the community forum. So as a bonus of a community forum, you'll have access to be supported by one another. At the end of each of those calls too, there will be some Q&A sharing time too. And then bonus, I'm very excited about, in the middle of the course, there's a 5-hour retreat that's incredibly interactive. So that's going to be a lot of a chance for you to really get heard and seen and ask your questions and support one another and do some deep witnessing, which is really important. So bonus healing retreat day, 12 weeks, probably 13 weeks because it's okay. A 3-month course is only $197 and it starts this Friday. So I would love for you to get the resources. You know, if this stuff resonates with you, if you're like, I want that seems a lot, it's a bit of a head spin, you know, we're going to spread it out. We're going to experience it, build those skills together. It's not your fault that you don't know how to do it or that you know how to do it and you're still longing for more support. I'm honored that I get to know it and share it. So I've been doing this work for over 15 years and I love it, and it's saved my life, and I love sharing it. Okay. So if you have any questions, feel free to chat in or email me, and I put in a pop in there, but if for any reason, technical weird things, sophiawise1.com/wild-femme, F-E-M-M-E. Okay, so wild-femme, or you can go through the work with me page and join me. That would be amazing. Okay, great. Let me just check I didn't miss anything. So go ahead and get comfortable. If you can, get in a position so that your hips are a little bit more on the open side. Okay, I'm going to shift because I've shifted a little bit into the shade here. A little chilly. Okay, I guess it doesn't much matter how you can see me right now because you're going to close your eyes. So get comfortable, take a couple deep breaths into your hips, drop your shoulders, relax your jaw, and make the decision right now to just let all of that spinning, all of that knowledge, all of that perspective, all of that story to just kind of fall away, trusting that if it serves your healing, your empowerment, your remembering. I do want to say this too before I thought about it and I forgot. The heart of this work and all of the work, including in Wild Femme, is not about me teaching you what worked for me. It's about me holding a space for you to heal and remember yourself. What works for you? What is you working? What is your wholeness? Okay, so take a moment right now and allow all that happened today to drop, to move through, to integrate what serves you, what awakens you and remembers you to your. Let that nestle in and expand in you. Anything that doesn't feed you, let it fall away to the side, knowing that if it will feed you in the future, it'll be there. You don't have to hold on to any of this. It's flowing, it's happening, it's okay. You'll remember it when you need it, and you can just take a couple deep breaths, inhaling deeply and exhaling. Again, inhaling deeply and exhaling. I'm going to lose battery power here, so while you settle, I'm just going to plug in. Okay. So take a few deep breaths and give yourself permission to heal. Give yourself permission to get what you need right now to experience deep nourishment. Inhaling and exhaling. Allow your focus to come to your spine, anywhere along your spine. So just become aware and connect and allow that focus to kind of center in. Now allow that centered focus to kind of become like an orb. Okay. Something you can really kind of track. And as you inhale, allow it to go up your spine, into your occiput, into your cranium, your head. And then as you exhale, allow it to drop down your spine into your sacrum. With the rhythm of your own breath here, allow it to rise on the inhale. And drop on the exhale. You're going to do this one more time, coming up into the cranium, up into your head. And then exhaling. Exhaling down, down into your sacrum. And as you hit that sacrum this time, as you inhale this time, allow that focus to expand out forward, expanding into your hips, reaching around, touching that pubic bone, filling like a bowl, inhaling, filling that space. And as you exhale, imagine a wide channel. I mean like 6 inches from butt bone to butt bone, front of your pubic bone, a wide channel to open underneath you, dropping down towards the earth. And take a couple moments to just feel this breath, feel this connection, allow your whole body to soften as you breathe in, feeling that bowl, allowing that to be your focus, and yet allowing any awareness you have around that focus, like peripheral vision, okay? Good. I want you to find yourself in the center of your bowl. Look around and call out. Announce your consciousness to your body. Tell yourself, I'm here, I'm aware, I see you. Show yourself to me, okay? So I want you to call towards your womb, your ovaries, your organs, your muscles, your tissues, and say, you know, maybe I haven't been here in a while. Maybe I was here earlier today, but I'm here right now. And I want to see what it is that I haven't seen. So take a deep breath in. Give yourself permission to know something now you haven't known before. And then allow that to emerge. It can come through sensation, feeling, visual, sound, smell, taste, all of those things are just a knowing. So just let it come in. Take a moment to see yourself in a new way. Go ahead and ask yourself in this space here if there's anything that it wants, it's longing for, a blessing, just whatever it is. And then as it becomes clear, I invite you to breathe deep into your center. Lean, kind of let your body relax. Trust that you have the capability of bringing the essence of that in. So blessing yourself with that space. And I offer my blessing. And I look to the moon and this bright blue sky that you may receive exactly in this moment the essence of that longing. And then keep the focus there and watch yourself receive it. And watch, again, which is just your awareness, sense into what happens as you accept it in. So just stay with yourself. Stay with yourself. Stay aware. Using your breath as your ally. I want you to take a moment here and I want you to ask, just kind of drop into your body, your knowing here, if there's anything to know about your cycle, especially that premenstrual time, but any part of that cycle. Is there something you need to know? Something you need to do differently? A way you need to honor yourself? Or what do you need to do to more deeply cultivate and honor that space for you? To make peace, to allow the peace that you are to be embodied here.
And go ahead and just check in with your heart or any other part of your body, your mind, your womb, just anything else you want to take the moment right now to ask yourself, to feel, to know. What's a question for yourself? Go ahead and ask it, and then stay with the answer. And just watch yourself unfold. Give yourself permission right now to change, to let the landscape of your being shift, become different right now, in the midst of this moment right here. And allow yourself in this moment, if there's anything else you want to call in, bless yourself, kind of bring into your experience right now, just inhale deeply, exhale, letting any debris, anything that is released is restored, let it fall out of you through that wide channel. Receive what you want to receive. And then with the next few breaths, allow yourself to integrate, to arrive. Take the next moment if you want to take a couple notes or jot down anything or just savor the experience. There's a chant, a song by Kellyanna that's coming to mind for me right now. The river is a story of ebb and flow, and the rains that come and go. The ocean is a story of ebb and flow, and the tides that come and go. A woman is a story of ebb and flow, and the moon that comes and goes. Ebb and flows, comes and goes, round in a circle, and don't you know? Ebb and flows, comes and goes, round in a circle, and don't you know? Ebb and flows, comes and goes, round in a circle, and don't you know? Many blessings to you and yours, and I wish you great relaxation and satisfaction in your deep, wise ebbing and flowing, and your rhythmic hormonal cycles. They are to be trusted. They are to be worked with and learned from. And we can cultivate our own deep, incredible gardens and serve each other, ourselves, and the planet from that place. So I'm going to leave the computer image on, and when you're complete, you can just chat into the box there. If you have any questions or comments, I'd be happy to take them. And I wish you and all of yours just many, many blessings. Love to all, light to all, and peace to all. Satnam. Don't mind me as I climb around here.
Satnam.